Why are Singaporeans so SIAN, especially these days? Well, for our international audience, SIAN means a variety of things. It could mean low energy, lack of enthusiasm, being very tired, moody, somber. So, especially these days, after the pandemic, you find that Singaporeans have this air of resignation. You know, when you go around all over, the energy level is very low. And we especially notice that because for those of you who are new to this channel, we are Fran and John, the Corporate Breakout Couple. We retired in 2020 and shifted over from Singapore to Penang in 2022. We are currently based there. So we do a lot of heavy traveling, and every time we come back to Singapore, we find that well, the mood seems to get more and more sour these days. People are getting impatient, angsty, you know, and there's a lot of pent-up frustration.
Yeah, so we view Singapore with fresh eyes each time we land back in Singapore, and that's one of the first few things that we notice each time we are in Singapore.
And you know, there's a lot of newspaper reports, especially the last few years. There's like people or a guy like wielding a samurai sword, you know, in Buangkok, you know, doing this kind of thing. And then recently there are people like peeing in an MRT station. So there's definitely something going on mentally. I think the kind of emotions that's being held up, especially in an ever-changing world, right? Especially for Singapore, which is so fast-paced, is kind of affecting people. And personally, I feel that work definitely has a very big part to play because, you know, before pandemic, everybody just go to work in person, right? You got to go to office, you got to report to work. But ever since pandemic changed things, people started to have certain demands about wanting to remote work partially or have a hybrid working model, and then they realize that, you know, work is perhaps not everything, because when you have the comforts of your home while doing your work, you realize that, you know, actually you can achieve a lot of other things. And when that is taken away again post-pandemic, where some offices and companies are, you know, kind of asking everybody back again, you know, the dynamics have not been the same ever.
Yeah, and when the work and life lines are blurred because you take work back home, you're working from home, right? It's also a very different experience when you separate your office and your home life. So when these things are blurred together, because not everybody is 100% back to the office. Yes, a lot of people are still remote working, or maybe they're doing a bit of hybrid. Therefore, when there is a blurred lines, when you bring work back from to home, right, and you're working there, then there is no segregation, and that also leads to a lot of built-up pressure and angstiness. When
your personal space is intruded, right? Because before pandemic, work is work, home is home, right? These are separated. But now when they are merged together, you know, you kind of feel like, hey, you know, where do I draw the line anymore? This term called the work-life balance, where's that balance anymore? So therefore, people are feeling the effects of all that, especially for Singaporeans. Yes, we do have, you know, a bit of money financially to do a lot of traveling, but don't forget, work is the predominantly takes up most of your time each year. The amount of leave that you have is not enough for you to take all these long breaks, right? You can't like have a full summer break to enjoy break from work. You only got like 1 to 2 weeks, 1 to 2 times a year. That's about it. So if you understand the psychology behind why people feel so SIAN, why people feel so trapped, it's because they are in a cycle that they can't get out of. And this cycle seems like there's no end, because retirement for many people are going to be in their 60s. What if you are in your 30s, your 40s, you still got another 20, 30 years to go. So this SIANness, as what we also notice, is also you know, a disconnect from, you know, when we human beings, we have a lot of contained emotions, right? We feel sad, we feel angry, we feel you know, angsty. We want to let it out, but we can't let it out at work, right? So somehow, even though we loon, right? Loon is a term that we use in Singapore. We hold, you know, we hold it in, we suck it in, we loon. But sometimes we get triggered and it comes out. You know, and we have experienced quite a bit of that every time we are back in Singapore, especially the this last period where we are back for 2 to 3 months. It is even more apparent.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the pent-up frustrations doesn't have a place to go, and so every little trigger, every little event brings out the worst in them, and they're very triggered. So I'll give you an example, a real life example that happened to us just a few months ago. So in Singapore, we don't drive. We rarely drive in that sense. So we do have a family car, but we don't take it so often. So we rely on public transport most of the time to get around. So one day we were waiting at the bus stop, right? And there were only 3 people at the bus stop: John, myself, and one guy. So when the bus came, the bus stopped past us, and so we were walking towards the bus. The bus doors open, and before I could get in, the guy brushed past me, and in a very rude voice he said, "Excuse me," right? And he just pushed past me and boarded the bus. So I said, "Hey, what's the rush? We're all getting on the same bus anyway." And he turned around and he said to me, "You were in my way," right? Very loudly, very rudely. He was so rude and loud that the bus driver actually turned back and looked at him. So this is one instance of, the angstiness that comes out, to a total stranger, right? Like, what did I do? I didn't do anything. In fact, he was in my way because I was actually the first one to board the bus, but he brushed and pushed past me, right? So if anybody were to be angry, it should be me, but no, it was actually him, and the way he said it was as if it was his right of way, and it was his right of way to actually board the bus first. So this kind of entitled, rude attitude is the kind of events that we are talking about, that very little small minute things due to the pent-up frustration that this person or people feel, that every little trigger just erupts them into this very unreasonable kind of manner.
Yeah, it happens on the road as well. Occasionally we'll drive in Singapore, and we drive a lot in Malaysia. There is a very distinct difference between driving in Singapore versus Malaysia. In Singapore, it is like basically at the traffic light when it turns from red to green, if you are not driving within 1 second, you get horned. So the level of how courteous or how patient the drivers are is not quite there as what you experience in Malaysia, especially Thailand. When we drove in Thailand, people were so respectful. As much as possible, they don't want to horn you, they don't tailgate you at all. But in Singapore, as a driver, even though we got very proper lane markings, a great traffic system, but people are impatient, people want things fast, because like you're kind of in their way, right? They're on their way to work, and then if you are slowing them down even by 1 second, you're in their way, and they will horn you as quickly as as how angry they feel.
As Malaysians, as a Malaysian, I really laugh at how Singapore drivers drive on the road, because they think that they're really good at driving, but actually their skill sets actually compared to the Malaysians practice defensive driving, whereas the Singaporeans, because in their rush, and almost all the roads are highways, right? So they're going at fast speeds, but their skills are not as, I would say, as reactive as Malaysians. So one great example was just a few months ago. Did you ever read on the East Coast, on the ECP, right? There was a 6-car or 7-car pileup, and cars were stacked on one another. How in the world did 2 cars get stacked on one to another? Well, it basically means that they didn't emergency brake fast enough, and I don't know what happened, and 2 cars ended up on 2 other cars, right? And it caused like a 7-8 car pileup on the expressway. So to me, that is quite funny, because if you want to be impatient, you want to, chiong on the road, like how, us Malaysians and Singaporeans say, then you better be very good at your skill sets. You better be very good on the road so that you can maneuver your way safely to your destination, right?
One of the key reasons why Singaporeans are so sian is also that there is this work cycle that can't seem to end, right? Work is like almost taking up most of your time for Singaporeans, and retirement seems like a long time away. So when I understand that, because we were also in the corporate rat race, when things get harder at work, especially these days, and there's no outlet of release, when you get out there on the streets, on the road, or when you're driving, and you kind of have to hold it all together. Maybe you have difficulties at home, challenges at home as well. You got kids, you need to help them with their homework, or you need to handle your parents, your aging parents, whatever that is. I can understand that in Singapore, which is a very fast-paced city, it's difficult to hold it together. And when there's no awesome retirement to look forward to, right? It's quite understandable why people get more repressed and more sian. But on that note, I would like you to notice this. As us human beings, right, there is a reason why we snap, why we, have this kind of mental health issues, why there's depression setting in, there's this high level of stress. One of it is there's a disconnection between your outside and your inside. What am I talking about? On your inside, when you feel certain emotions, when you feel certain things, right, you feel frustrated, but when you cannot connect that with your outside and you try to hold it in, right? So basically there's no flow, there's no connection from your outward action and however you're feeling inward. And when that happens for a long time or too many times, you snap and it gets triggered sometimes when you just can't hold it together, when the situation is just that stressful.
I think it's like a volcano, right? The volcano is, before it erupts, you already see the signs, right? There's smoke coming out, right? There's a few rumbles here and there, and then finally it erupts. But what happens if you try to contain a volcano that's about to erupt? It's not possible, right? So I think it is always good if you're feeling stressed, pressured, be it work, be it home life, right? Be it financially, talk to someone, share your troubles with someone because you actually do feel better.
Yep, and I do also notice that Singaporeans get more and more quiet, right? Also because of the sianness, whether it is about, we conduct masterclasses as well. So, and we also attend webinars from other people. The response from Singaporeans or the general engagement is, I just want to type, I don't really want to speak up, I don't really want my face to be seen. So it kind of be, like going more and more into the shell. And as a Singaporean, and seeing that my fellow Singaporeans are like that, is something that I'd like you to notice. And this got to do a lot with self-awareness. If you're not aware that your behavior is as such, if you are losing your enthusiasm for things and for life, like when we were young, when we were kids, we were very imaginative, we were very excited about things. We remember that energy, that zest, the enthusiasm, right, is all gone. And I'm telling you this, and there's something I noticed as well. It's happening in the kids these days, teenagers, young adults. The energy level is actually very low compared to maybe 20 years ago. There's like this lack of enthusiasm everywhere, and it is a lot got to do with catching yourself in situations, understanding and appreciating, what's going on around you, being aware, and then, making a decision to react to it. Right?
And I also feel that social media has a huge part to play with the low confidence, low self-esteem, and going into the shell, right? Because when you turn on your Instagram, TikTok, right, or Facebook, what do you see? You see people living their best lives, right? And then you tend to compare. As human beings, we tend to compare. You tend to compare to yourself, oh, I'm stuck at work, my friends are traveling in Japan, my friends going to see the Northern Lights, oh, but I'm at work, I have no more leave. And that's when, you feel down and you feel depressed, and then there's a sense of ennui that sets in, right? So, social media is great to connect people all over, but it's actually this very connection that makes us feel very disconnected with our everyday people, with our everyday lives. Isn't that so ironic?
So one thing that we can suggest that that we notice on our travels as well, especially being able to compare what's the culture, what's the life like in other countries every time when we are back in Singapore is, in Singapore, from a economic standpoint, from infrastructure standpoint, from a standard of living standpoint, is really high. You don't get this level of cleanliness in a country, clean toilets, safety, public education, public infrastructure. It's really hard to get something like this in other parts of the world. And for Singaporeans, I really, like to remind you that it is not a position that we might be able to hold on forever, right? It is a strong economic position. We have great branding to the world. However, we are a small country and our only resource is human resource. So if the human resource is not very happy and very sian, it will have an impact in future generations as well. So appreciate where we are now and, practice gratitude, right? Being grateful, because just like where we are now, we are in a very nice, open, clean area at a park near the beach. You know, it's great and wonderful to be in a sunny island that has all these features, and you know, just to be alive in an island like this.
You know, Singaporeans, a lot of people from other countries want to be in Singapore, and they're fighting tooth and nail to be in Singapore, right? So I urge you not to take Singapore for granted, what the government has done, what the country has done for you, and what you've done for the country. And you know, and it's easy, it is so easy to take things for granted when you're in the country day in, day out. Yes? So it's just a small reminder that, you know, don't take what you currently have for granted. You know, look at things on the bright side of life, because hey, you only have one life, and the moment you die, game over, right? So this is just a gentle reminder for all of you watching this. Even if you're not in Singapore, you know, don't take where you are for granted, you know, and wake up every day happy, joyful that you're alive, because one day that you wake up will be your last day.
Yes,
and the beauty is no one knows when that day is, so treasure every day and live life to its fullest, you know, and especially if you're on public transport, right, and you're meeting with a lot of strangers, you know, it doesn't take much out of you to smile and say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, right, and just ask how's everyone's day. And I think if we can spread a little joy and cheer around, I think the world will be a better place. And let's start in Singapore. And that's us, Fran and John, for the Corporate Breakout Couple. Thank you so much for watching this video. And I hope that you like this kind of style, very raw, very real. And we'll see you in the next video.
Don't hit the like button. Yes.
Let's like this video, subscribe and share. Thank you so much, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.